Hey guys, welcome back out to the channel for part 2 of our entertainment stand build. So what we've done the last time is we built the main frame of the whole stand. We've gotten the face frame, the sides, and the top and bottom. And as you can see, there's now a shelf in the bottom. I've already cut that, but I haven't attached it yet. And that is what we got to start working with today, is building the shelves, creating the back, the top, and also the doors. So what we're going to do is finish up by nailing the base of the shelving in, and then I'll show you guys how to create a second shelf about midway up. Alright, so for this setup we have a 1x8 in the back and a 1x10 in the front, and we're going to go ahead and just nail the corners in. We'll come over to this other side as well, make sure that it's all the way down. We got 3 nails in there. So with a 1x8, I'm going to flush it up with the back side along the whole entire edge and then nail it down. And yes, there's going to be a little gap in here, but we're going to be covering that up in a little bit. We need to go ahead and cut the other pieces for that other shelf. And we are just pulling from the 2x4 to 2x4, and that's going to be 57 inches, and that will fit just inside of the 2 outside walls. Now that we've gotten those 2 pieces cut out, we need to go ahead and cut some pieces that are going to be joining all those together, and each of these pieces is going to be 17 inches in length. Before mounting the shelf in, I need to get some supports in the front section, and I'm going to be cutting 3 pieces at 14 inches, and these pieces are going to be hidden by the face frame. So try to get some good looking wood, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So I've got this piece right here, and I'm going to add some glue to it. And then we're going to nail it right here into the corner. And I'll also nail the other one in on the other corner. Come from this side. For the middle section, we want to make sure it's directly underneath the center support for the shelf. So we're going to go ahead and make a mark at 27 3/4 right there, and also one on the bottom. That way we can make sure that it's lined up nice and square. Now we're ready to install the shelf in here, and what I'm going to be doing is making a mark on the bottom side at 14 inches for my ends. That way when I go to set them in, I know exactly where they need to be, and I can come on the outside and nail it, and I don't have to worry about the height if it's dipping down or leaning forward or anything like that. So I'm going to make my marks, and then we're going to put some glue on both of the edges, slide it in there as perfect as possible, and then we're going to go ahead and nail it all up. Now I need to find my pencil. Alright, so that shelf is in here now, and when we go to do this, we'll just be able to either, you can get some paper towel right now and wipe off all the glue with like a wet paper towel, or you can go ahead and wait and sand it off, scrape it off, something like that. I'm going to go try to get some paper towel and wipe it off right now, and it'll make the cleanup a little bit easier. So we got the back panel put on. It was 57 and an eighth inches by 3 feet, and I nailed it on, and it's really good, solid 1/4 inch piece, flush with the edges. So that's good. It looks really nice on there. And as you can see, as I turn this around, I have changed up the design of the face frame. So you guys can see that there's going to be 3 spots now instead of just 2. These are going to have doors, and this is going to be open. So I had this 4.5 inch piece right in the middle. I ripped it in half, and the door will overlap this by about halfway. And then I put 1x2s right here in the front to make the shelving look a little bit thicker and give it a nice even profile all the way around, so that there wasn't any kind of little, I don't know, little recesses in here. It's all flush with the face frame. What do you guys think? You guys like this better? So we gotta get the doors on, and also the top, and I think that we're gonna be working on, oh yeah, we gotta put molding around the bottom as well. So I'll do the molding real quick. It's gonna be a 2x4 ripped down to 1.5 inches by 3/4 inch, and then we'll just put that around the edge, and we'll make sure that the curved part of the 2x4 is facing out. So I went to go get one of the 2x4s, and I found this 1x2 up in my stash. So we're just gonna go ahead and use this, save some time. To do this, we are tipping over the blade. So I've got this flushed up against the other edge, and you can see that I have a little bit of overhang right here. That's all right, and it's better to have a little bit of extra on these than making them too close. So now I can go ahead and just start trimming it down a little bit at a time until I get a perfect fit right there. So I got the front cut, and I also got the side piece cut for the side closest to you. And I'm just going to lay this up here and make sure that my corners get squared up on this side, and then I can nail this in. It's always very helpful to go ahead and cut out your front section, make it a little bit longer, and then have your next piece already to go. So I've gotten my side piece, and I was able to butt this up together, and I cut this one to the correct length by having these two join up in this corner. I made a mark on that far edge, and that's how I was able to do that. So I'll show you guys real quick on this dark side. So the way you do it is you can line up your two corners. And so I got a perfect corner right here. And my piece is really long. So now I can come back here into this back corner and I can just make my mark. And then I can trim it to the perfect fit. We are going to be working on the top now, and what I've come up with, I got a big 2x10 that I'm going to be using. I went ahead and got the top cut, and as you guys can see, I have a little bit of overhang. This is 1 inch on the sides, and then there's like a 1/2 inch on the very front. And what I'm doing now is screwing it down. I've gotten 2 screws on the very back, and those are just my placeholders. The top is on and all screwed down, and I'll show you guys one thing I ran into. I put in more screws than I really wanted to, and on this edge right here, with any 2x material, 1x material that's pine, more than likely you're gonna have some kind of bow or like crown or anything like that. And I tried to put all the crown down, and when I got over to this corner, after I started screwing from that side coming across, this piece right here was almost a 1/2 inch in the air, and I couldn't push it down by hand. So I had to get a clamp, and as you can see, I had to put multiple screws in right here to get this corner right here to stay down. So with this project, this is going to be painted. It is a pine piece. I'm going to be painting it white, and so all the holes and stuff like that are going to get filled with wood filler. The little groove in the top is going to get filled in. one thing that I want to know is that if this was going to be a stained project or like a just plain sealed, whatever, clear coat, there would be no way that I would be putting that many screws in there. I would have went a different direction, maybe gotten two 1x10s and layered them up, and then around the front you could come around with like a 1x2 like the floor, and just made your own front molding piece around the edge. That's how I did our countertops. I put our countertop in the house has 2 pieces of plywood, and I wrapped molding around the front edge of that to give it the thicker look, but it was much easier to use. So next time, if I had to do this again, I wouldn't be using a 2x10. It's too much to be trying to maneuver if it's out of bow or anything like that. And this piece was straight whenever I picked it up, and it just curved while it was sitting waiting for the install. So that's something to think about. We're working on the doors right now, and we pretty much have to just cover the holes on the side. And each door is 27 inches tall by 15¼ inches in width. So what I'm going to be doing is making sure that it covers by 1 inch. And so I'm cutting 2 boards at 29 inches, and then 2 at whatever 15, and yeah, we're adding 2 inches to each measurement that I just said. So I've got my marks right here for this first one, and we're gonna raise up the blade. The top and bottom are going to be 17 3/8. I'll cut those out the same way. And these are going to get mitered, but having them shorter in length is a lot easier to work than trying to cut it on one big stick. Now we'll go ahead and move this to the 45. And when we're doing these, we'll just make sure that we're just barely cutting onto the flat corner. And this is where we'll get our cut for it. You guys see that we have the panel piece in the glue up stage. I've got a Bessie band clamp, and it's got all 4 corners supported. I love this thing whenever I glue up something like this. And then I also checked it with a square. You guys can see like a speed square right there. And then I double checked with measuring tape, pulling from corner to corner, making sure that they were the exact same lengths from the corner to corner. And they are. So now I'm going to let that dry for a little while, and then we'll get the panel put in and move on with it. Well, I didn't want to bore you guys with the sanding, but that is after an 80 grit sanding on this cabinet, and now I'm going to go over it by hand with a 120 grit. I wanted to make sure that I got all the rough stuff off of it, especially with the 2x and 1x material. The plywood, I'm going to go ahead and stick on some 120 on a random orbital sander and get that, just because I don't want to burn through the pieces of plywood. So we've gotten the cabinet completely sanded down. All the holes have been filled in, and I even went up to 150 grit when I did the hand sanding, just because that's what I had. Still have to finish up with the doors, but I'm going to leave those for right now and get this painted up and let a coat sit on here. And once this is dry, then I'll start on the doors again. I still got to make the little X frame in the doors, but for right now this is completely finished and just got to paint it, so that's what I'm going to work on right now. So I've already painted the whole entire inside of the cabinet, and I've done the top and the bottom of the inside because I wanted everything to be coated equally, and that will help with any kind of wood movement that's going to end up happening over time. And I'm using a 4-inch roller just to do all this flat area. It makes it go so much quicker. And we'll put on a couple different coats, probably like 3 little light coats of this white paint. Gotten the doors all glued up now, and we got them out of the clamps, and we are working on the X portion of this. Alright, so the way that you create your X, because it's not exactly a 45, what you can do is put them in the corners of where you want it. So like here, if we want to just start it on this corner, we would put mark right here, and also on the other side, and we can flip it over and use a square of some sorts or just a straight edge and match up your 2 lines and draw your line like that, and you have your angle. Now, to find your angle on your table saw, you're just gonna have to eyeball it and keep it very close to what you need, and you'll end up getting it. And if you need to trim it off, remember, a little bit longer is better. So right now I'm coming up to the blade and just kind of eyeballing up the angle. So I want, I just hit it. I want it right there. And this is roughly a 60-degree angle. I think it's just shy of 60 degrees. And as you can see, that's almost a perfect cut. There's a little bit of a pencil line right here on this end, but for the most part, for a first cut, that's great. Now with the littler pieces that are going to be on the other 2 ends of the X's, what you do is you just hold this up and pretty much cut one of your ends. So this will be the top side, and then you just break it in half or whatever, and then you do the middle section, and then they'll cross over each other. So this is what I was talking about with it breaking apart. So you would make another full piece like this, except when you lay it up here, you have to mark. I made this mark first, and then I came across, and the piece that you just saw me cut was this piece, which was the other half. And now we just pull, this one's already glued down, you just pull these 2 pieces out, and then you put glue on them and glue them back in.